students, today's agenda is to check homework. We'll be graphing parabolas and you will be able to do 3.5. Today, students will be able to graph parabolas and match graphs, tables, and functions. And we will do this by analyzing parts of the graphs, some parts of the tables, and also the function. Before we start, we need to know that when a is greater than 0, meaning positive 1, 2, 3, 4, etc., the graph will open up. When a is less than 0, meaning -1, -2, -3, etc., the graph will open down. So number 1 says y equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. Also, I would like for you to understand that when we have y, we can also replace it with f of x. So you might say f of x equals x squared plus 5x plus 6. Or sometimes they even put the 0. So it would say something like 0 equals x squared plus 5x plus 6, or the 0 might be on the other side. But the main important part is this one, and you have ax, meaning that a is 1, plus bx, that means that in here, b is 5, and plus c, which is this one. So to graph these equations, what we will do is find the vertex and then 2 points to the side of that vertex. Another thing that we need to know is that these equations will always have this part, regardless of what we get in here, is going to be in the form of ax squared plus bx plus c. Remember that a is always with the x squared. In this case, it will be 1. B will always be with x, 5 for this one. And c will always be the constant number. So we can already say that a is 1. B is 5 and C is 6 for this equation. So I'm going to leave this space for the graph so that we can compare the function, the table, and the graph and analyze some parts of it so that you can be able to match in your homework. The first thing that we need to find always is the vertex. You already learned how to do that in the last lessons. And so for the vertex, it's x is equal to negative b all over 2a. So negative from the formula is minus 5 for b, and then over 2 times a, which is 1. We bring over the 5, and 2 times 1 is 2. And when we divide -5 by 2, we get negative 2.5. So yes, we might get decimals, and that's okay. This is the value of x. And always put the vertex in the middle. So it's going to be negative 2.5 for this one. Now we need to find y. And what we need to do is replace that value here and here. So y is equals to, instead of x, it's going to be negative 2.5 squared. Because it's negative, we need to put the parentheses, plus 5 multiplied by the value of x, which is again negative 2.5 plus 6. We're going to use our calculator. Some professors ask to show the work, and you have to put each part, then open parentheses, negative 2.5, close parentheses, and then you square it and press equal. So it's 6.25. And we can think about it because negative times negative is positive, so that's why 6.25. Then in here, positive times negative is negative. 5 times negative 2.5 equals, it's negative 12.5, and bring down the 6. Then it's easier to add the 2 positives first. Well, 6.25 plus 6 is just 12.25 minus 12.5. Now you're able to subtract and leave the greater sign, but if you need to, then you can go ahead and use the calculator. 12.25 minus 12.5. We can see that this one is bigger by 0.25, so it's negative. So y equals negative 0.25. So that's going to be the value for this one, for y, 0.25. So for this point, I recommend that you figure out a way to get whole numbers. That way you don't have to deal with more decimals, and it's easier to even multiply without the calculator. Add 0.5 to each side. So this is my graph. Okay, I'm just going to do a number line. I have 0, -1, -2, and then -3. My point is a negative, and I'm not looking at the whole coordinate, just the x part, okay? So it's a 2.5 right here. I recommend that you go 0.5 to this side and 0.5 to that side in here. So I'll put -2, so this one right here, and then another one will be -1. On the other side, it will be -3, I'm sorry, and then the next whole number is -4. That way I can use 2 points that are right next to the x of the vertex and then the next one, but it will be whole numbers instead, because some people, what they do is they add 1 and they add 1 and they end up with decimals for every single value. So no, just work with the whole numbers that are right next to that one. And this works only because it's 0.5. Okay, if it was another decimal, then it wouldn't be as easy. Okay, so what is the first step to do when we're graphing an equation but we're not using the x-intercept, the y-intercept? Is to create a table and plot points. How? The first step, find the vertex. After that, find the values that are next to that vertex, okay, to either side. It has to be symmetrical to make our lives easier. Now we have to find the y values for the other ones. So we don't need this ABC anymore. That's only for the vertex. So now that we have these values selected, we just need to plug them in again into x and to x here. So y is equals to, and you can start in either one as long as you know which ones you're doing, okay? So let's do -1. Because it's negative, we're going to put it between parentheses, and it's x squared plus 5 times x, which is -1, plus 6. -1 times -1 is +1. Be careful, because some people see the negative, they want to bring it down, but we're also elevating to the second power that negative sign. The next one, +5 times -1 is -5. Bring down the 6. Add the positives that add the ones that are positive first, and so we get 1 plus 6 is 6, and bring down the, no, 1 plus 6 is 7. I don't know how to add. And then bring down the 5. Finally, 7 minus 5 is 2. I should have left it because there is another trick to figure out if they are correct or not. So in here, the answer is 2. Now let's do -2. So y is equals to, again, we're replacing x in here and x in here. So -2 squared plus 5 times -2 plus 6. -2 times -2, that's +4. +5 times -2, that's -10, and bring down the 6. 4 and 6 together make 10, minus 10, that will give us 0. So when x is -2, the answer for y is 0. And remember that when y is 0, then that means that that's my x-intercept. Let's go ahead and do -3. So y is equals to -3 squared plus 5 times -3 plus 6. So -3 squared means -3 times -3, which is 9. +5 times -3 is -15 plus 6. Add the ones that are positive together first. So 9 plus 6 is 15. Minus 15. So 15 minus 15, and that's equals to 0. So far, it looks good because this is my vertex. The numbers next to it, if I selected the points that are right next to it and then the ones that are a little farther but also symmetrical to that, then this should be the same, okay? So I should get a 2 in here. Again, the points, these answers are going to be the same, and these answers also should be the same. Okay, let's do the last one. So y is equals to -4 squared plus 5 times -4 plus 6. -4 squared is -4 times -4, which is positive 16. 5 times -4 is -20 plus 6. We combine the ones that are positive first, and 16 plus 6 are 22. Bring down -20. And 22 minus 20 is 2. If you notice, they did come out the same, okay? 2 and 2. Now I can remove this where I did my work. And for my graph, I need to analyze what is it that I have in here. Okay, so I have negatives mainly, and I need negative for y. We need a little bit of negatives and mostly positives. So we can make them kind of big. So 1, 2, and -1. In here, I need -1, -2, -3, and -4. Because I have from -1 to -4. And label this -1, -2, -3, -4. So the first thing we need to find is the vertex is -2.5. So -1, -2, and -2.5. I don't put the point in there. Then I go on y, and that's where I put it. -0.25 is like 1/4 of this. This is half, this is 1/4. So my vertex is around there. For the other points, it's easier if I just go with -2 and -3 next. And so -2, 0, that's my point. -2 next, so you go back to the left, and then 0. You don't move on y. -3, 0 is -1, -2, -3, 0, right there. And then the last 2 points, or the outer ones, is -1, 2, -1, +2 is right there. And the last one, -4, 2, -4, +2. And so that's where my graph will go. Something that I can analyze in this graph is that I have zeros in here. These points are my x-intercepts. Okay. I don't have y, but I know that it's above the 2 and possibly even the 3. What I can do is analyze the function and know that, because we learned already that the y-intercept is the last or the constant number in my equation, so the y-intercept should be at 0, 6. Well, I can analyze that this is going to go up and it's going to meet somewhere over there. Now I know that it will be at 6. Okay.